Okay, we are talking about goals, and we're looking at goals not in the sense of an achievement, but in becoming. So, setting goals to become more of this true identity that we've defined. When you take the time to really write out your identity statement and get clear on what God has called you to do, who you are as a person, your values, your strengths, Enneagram, like knowing your temperament, and all the different things that go into making you you. And that also help you to make decisions to align with your identity and your purpose. And so when we're looking at goals for this particular session, we're looking at goals to set for you to become more like that, the you that you want to be. And it's a process, and we will probably never ever hit the mark. I mean, we're not going to get it. It's always a process. Okay. So let's talk about how do you set those kinds of goals? Because those goals, and in fact, I really needed to grab this because I want to look at some questions that I had asked that will help you head in that direction. Okay. So first question is, what area of your life are you the least satisfied with? Okay. And then how do you want to grow? So in that particular area, let's say your finances don't align, your spiritual growth is weak, whatever it is, the areas that you're thinking, I really want to grow in these areas. I'm not satisfied with where I am. It's not aligned with who I really want to be, the strong version, the healthy version. And then what do you want more of? What do you want less of? Maybe there's stress. Maybe you want more time. Maybe you want less obligations, etc. And where do you want to be in this coming new year? And when you look at that really again as a becoming versus an actual like check mark, I mean, you want it to be measurable, but I don't want you to get caught up in like a goal of accomplishing something, because that's what we usually think of a goal is like, I'm going to achieve whatever. Like I have a goal of running a marathon, and there's definitely benchmarks that I need to hit health wise as well as the miles I run. But this is different because it's not as tangible, specific. And let's just continue on that vein. Okay, keep that in mind. All right. So this exercise is going to ultimately support the achievements that you want. So remember that when you're setting these goals of becoming, the becoming actually sets you up to accomplish the ultimate goal that you have, because you need to become in order to achieve. And it can happen, a lot of times it happens simultaneously, because in the process of achieving a tangible, specific goal, whether it's a career goal, a weight loss goal, or whatever, you're becoming the person that is fit. You're becoming the person that leads a dynamic team. And that's where a lot of people miss the mark, is that they're setting these goals to accomplish something and they're not becoming the type of person that actually does that type of a lifestyle or career or title. And so that's why I spend so much time on the identity with anybody, no matter how accomplished they are. Sometimes we got to backtrack and back up. And, somebody who was that I was such a person of personal growth, but yet when I really dug deeper, I realized at the core of my being, I did not have clarity. I wasn't growing in alignment with who I am and who God made me to be. I was growing to achieve things. I was growing to please people, to maybe have leadership skills, knowledge in a certain business, knowledge in my spiritual world, but I was not becoming the person God made me to be. And I think we really have to stop. That's a deep thought and concept that we need to stop and look at and say, huh, is the way that I'm living and the yeses and my nos and the time I'm spending towards things, the way that I'm approaching these goals or business ventures or whatever, is it really truly bringing out the best in me and aligning with a purpose to make a difference and an impact? Is it aligning with my core values and my wiring? Because my calling and my wiring, you have to think of this yourself, is not the same as the next person, and they could be great people. But if we're trying to align with somebody else and it just doesn't resonate, doesn't fit, it doesn't feel right, then listen to that, because then that means maybe it is you need a tweak or you need to dramatically change your path. I don't know. But let's look at these areas in our life that we're struggling with it. And that's one of the biggest things that as an indicator. There were a couple of areas of my life that I kept on struggling in. I was frustrated. I kept on hitting a wall. And that's when I realized there is something else here. There's something else out of line. And bam, that was it. That was it. So, what are those goals that we need to look at to go, you know what? I claim to be this, let's say you claim to be a healthy person, you believe in your body as your temple and you want to take care of it. Let's say you have a lot of energy and you want to accomplish a lot, but yet physically you can't because you're not taking care of yourself. Then there's a disalignment. And let's look at, so number one, we're going to look at becoming. First, working on the goal in the purpose of the pods that I do. With that in mind, first, we're going to work on goals that support your identity. And then second, it's about achieving. Okay, number two. So it's the first thing that I wanted to cover. Number two is this exercise will actually support your achievements. Like I said, your goals, because as you align with who you are, you're actually going to have a better chance of hitting this goal. And especially like if you're looking at a goal, like I've had this goal for so long. Well, as you start to align certain things, you're going to start to see that goal come to pass with less effort and more clarity, because there's no longer cognitive dissonance. And this is the second point, is you're going to achieve it because there's going to be alignment. When you have cognitive dissonance, that means that you're holding two things, your actions and your beliefs, your core values or beliefs, they don't align. Okay? They conflict, your actions are conflicting with your beliefs. And what some people do is they either just deny it, justify it. There's a lot of self-deception where there's a great book called Leadership and Self-Deception. And the reason why I love that book is because it shows this person who is completely not self-aware, that they are so unaware of how they're acting and how it doesn't align with what they want from other people, what they want from life, and they're acting in a way that you're not going to get that. And you're expecting something that you're not doing in order to receive it, right? So it's saying the same thing in a different way. So the opposite of cognitive dissonance is cognitive consonance. You want the cognitive, okay? So it's the way that we believe and we act out this cycle. You want it to be cognitive consonance instead of dissonance. And that's when you go, I don't know why I feel off. I don't know why I feel sluggish, depressed, unmotivated, frustrated. I don't sleep that great. I'm getting angry fast. a lot of times, now there are other things that cause those things, but a lot of times it is a conviction, an inner knowing that something's not aligned. Something's not right. You're living in a way that doesn't align with your core values and your beliefs, and you need to make an adjustment. And that's where habits come into play. So as you set this goal of going, you know what? I want to be better at this. I am not performing at my best at this particular role in my life because I put things off. I don't plan. I allow things to frustrate me, whatever. And so I know that what my goal is have a more harmony in the home, right? I want more harmony in the home. That's my goal. Then we start to align habits and actions that support it. You can't say I want harmony in my home and then you come home frustrated because you have to cook dinner and all the ingredients are at home. You hadn't planned for it and everybody's hungry and they're coming at you and like, everybody wants all this stuff from me and I'm so frustrated. And all of a sudden there's disharmony. Well, what could be some habits that could help you reach that goal? Take on the responsibility yourself. When leadership of self-deception talks about expecting other people to not get frustrated and come at you and pull at you and all that, but what are you doing to meet them halfway and do your part? And so that's where looking at that type of a goal and saying, all right, what are some habits that I can incorporate? Well, one, I can share, I hate cooking. Now, I hate it because it doesn't come natural to me. I don't know a lot about the kitchen. I just am clunky in the kitchen. Even when I've really wanted to, I have to plan. I really have to take my time because I just don't know it and I don't enjoy it, right? And so I kept on getting frustrated because Justin would come home hungry. Like, God forbid, right? Well, and I could eat anything. I'm not a big foodie. I'm a picker and I could just have like, pick out whatever leftover chicken is in there or whatever. And so I was like, you know what? I am going to start cooking every day at 4:30. And I planned the meals for the week and I got all the ingredients and it lifted the weight off. I was making it harder for myself, but I made a decision. I set a goal. I want us to eat healthier. I don't want to get frustrated at the end of every day because I have to deal with food. And I don't want him to be upset because he's hungry and then he ends up eating some kind of fast food or junk because I didn't create the habit of planning meals on Sundays. And that's what I did, plan the meals on Sundays. So that's an example of I am wanting to be I want to create an environment and a home that he comes home to because he works really hard and I want to run the home. I want to be a very good executive of the home, right? A domestic housewife, engineer, whatever. And so I can't say I want that and not do these things. And so that's where it's going to bring a lot more peace and joy. That's a simple example. I definitely have some more personal things that have to do more with my identity and my alignment with what God has, convicted me to do, and also obedience and all the things. But it gives you that simple example of being self-aware and not justifying the behavior of not having dinner prepared and just saying, I need to change some habits. Okay. So the last piece is, when you go back to your identity statement, ask yourself if you were specific enough. And if you haven't done the exercise of, those of you who are watching this video and aren't part of a pod, if you haven't done the exercise of creating your identity, that is something that I work really closely with the people that I coach one-on-one or in the pods. And so, but those of you who have, ask yourself if you've been specific enough. Ask yourself if there is anything that does not align with your current behavior, your decisions that you've already made, Your activities and involvement, things that you spend time doing on the weekend, leisure, as well as what you have volunteered and gotten yourself all involved in. And relationships, different connections that you have and different relationships that you have, alignments, partnerships. Is there anything that does not align with your identity, your behavior, all the things I just described? Does it align with your identity? Because if your identity says one thing, but all the things you're spending time doing and the people that you're around do not support your identity, you're going to have a very flat life and you're going to be very frustrated. There has to be alignment. There has to be sacrifice. There has to be boundaries. There has to be clear yeses and clear nos. And your identity, I'm telling you, when you do this, the freedom, the abundance, and the joy is crazy. I said that was the last thing, but that was the third thing. The fourth thing, which is the last thing, is focus there in your identity statement. I want you to look at it. Were you clear? And in the things that you defined there, and you were very clear on, this is who I am, decide on your goal. Okay, oh, this is out of whack. Oh, I'm not really living that. Or, you know what, I believe that, but I really don't have anything going on to support this part of my identity. So that's where I want to focus, etc. Or maybe it's not even in your identity statement. You just know you need to get healthy because you can't do all those things in your identity that you're called to do because you're just not healthy. You don't have the energy. You don't feeling good about yourself, and that needs to be a focus. So once you do that and you set that goal, then the next phase, and what we're going to do next after we get clear on, oh, here's the things I got to work on, then we're going to hit those habits, and then we'll relook at boundaries. And the habits and boundaries are pre-decided actions or responses. That means that you decided ahead of time before you got into a situation where you're forced to make a decision. Before you get there, decide what you want. That's what the identity statement's about. Decide what you want, decide who you are. Then when you're faced with something, you go, I know the answer. I'm not going. I know the answer. No, I'm not getting involved. I know the answer. I can't do that this month. Or I need to, if I am going to go forward, I need to make sure that they're aware that here are the things that I'm going to need in order to be able to go forward with this relationship or this agreement. Having that kind of clarity builds confidence, productivity, and pretty powerful connections, because you will start to get on a path where you start meeting people who are like-minded, meeting people who are going to go the journey with you or who will be open doors for you on some of these things that you would love to accomplish. And it's pretty exciting. So there's a lot to cover. And that's why coaches, I think the value in a real honest coach that wants to coach, not just, do it for or whatever. We get caught up here. We get stuck here. We know ourselves so well that we miss things. And it's hard for us to sort through things and really see the depth and the bigger picture from somebody on the outside looking in. It's pretty amazing. And that's why I love working with you guys. So there's your homework. There are the things to do. So hit it and we'll connect again.